Hi, my name is Ryan, and welcome to my channel. This is Lieutenant Pickles, who is fighting me for the chair once again. He's been in it all morning, nice and comfy and warm, and he doesn't want to give it up. So we're going to take it away from him because I outweigh him by a good solid 230 pounds. And he's just a cute little cat. All right. So, anyhow, what in the world? I can't remember what we're talking about. This has been going on for a couple minutes now, and we've figured this thing out. Okay, so what is this video about? Oh, music regarding what I was listening to when I was writing the book, The American Christmas Classic, Ride the Bomb to Hell. There's actually quite a bit of music I was listening to during different parts of the book. However, it would just vary. And I'll save the big album for the end, the one that I listened to probably the most. Okay, and that would be I listened to a lot of anything that was upbeat, especially at the beginning. Kind of upbeat music, something that's kind of fast paced. There's a lot of different variations of music I would listen to. It just really depends. And see, I told you he'd be safe. Don't worry, he'll be back. He's sitting there staring at me and despising me for taking back what was originally mine. Who ever thought trying to make a video with a cat would be so difficult? Okay, so I would say probably, let's just start with the big album. That's the easiest one to talk about. The album that I would say probably, it didn't write the story. I mean, once you hear the album name, you'll be like, oh yeah, it has nothing to do with a Christmas story that goes straight to hell. But the album was called Days Go By, which is an Offspring album. It's like from 2012 or 2013. Let me pull up my Amazon Music subscription. 2012. That's when it came. 2012. I didn't even know this was an album until during the lockdown. I usually listened to a lot of music growing up. Music was always a big part of my teenage years, my college years. Once I got in my 30s and started getting a little bit more involved in work and going to graduate school and then just being married at the time and then having kids, I didn't really listen to a lot of music. And then when I was teaching in another school district that was predominantly Latino, we had a high population of Spanish speakers, and I could speak a little Spanish, not a lot. You've heard my Spanish before. Remember the German tourist Spanish? And man, look what that cat did to me earlier. See that? I'm telling you why. We're going to have to follow abuse here on this cat. Okay? He just plays rough. All right? I don't want you to think that, I want you to call, we got Child Protective Services, and then we have what? Human Protective Services that protect us from our vicious little pet friends. I mean, he's just a feisty little cat. Did you know cat scratch fever is a real thing? Yeah, it's actually true. I found that out, not the hard way, but the easy way from reading about it on the internet. Hey, knock that off. So the Days Go By album, written by The Offspring. Yeah, that was a cool album. Didn't even know it was around. And again, I didn't know it was around because, like I said, at that point in time, I was working at that school, which was predominantly Latino with a lot of Spanish speakers, and we had a high population of like ESL students. And so what happened was just messages popped up on my phone. My phone's like running in the background while I'm doing this. And it's telling me that I have to go to a meeting, which is cool. I'm not late for anything. I'm being very responsible, but just want to let you know. What I did was when I was working at that school, I wanted to really be able to speak to the students that couldn't speak English very well. I wanted to be able to have conversations with them and their families. I wanted to really get them to buy into the education that we were providing for those families. Great kids, great families. We had a lot of families from El Salvador and a lot of your Latin American countries, south of Mexico. So a lot of them were very grateful for what we were doing. Anyhow, so I spent my time listening to Spanish when I was driving back and forth to work, so that way I could learn it. And actually, I did that for, almost 7-8 years in a row. I mean, I did not skip one day of learning Spanish while I was driving back and forth to work. Okay, so that was just something that was a natural part of my daily activity. And the sacrifice, that time I didn't listen to music. so I could listen to Spanish lessons, which is why I missed so many great music albums that came out for almost 7, 8, 10 years or whatever it was. And it probably wasn't until 2015 that I started listening to music again. And so this went on from like 2006 until about 2015. That's a long time when you think about it. And then, yeah, so that's why I miss a lot of these albums. That's why I miss the Days by the Offspring. And you'll notice one of the song titles in the album is based upon the movie. What's it? It's Doctor Strangelove. Yeah, Doctor Strangelove, which it has I can't remember the actors' names. There's a lot of famous actors. George C. Scott, and there's another guy that was really, really famous. I can't remember who he was. I'm not. You're lucky I didn't even remember George C. Scott. And anyhow, so it's the iconic scene where the guy's wearing a cowboy hat and he's riding the nuclear bomb down to blow up Russia and all that kind of stuff. So anyhow, they had one song on there that says Slim Pickens does the right thing and rides the bomb to hell. And I love that song. I think it's just freaking awesome. And anyhow, so that's kind of where I got part of the title for the book. I was like, you know what? Ride the bomb to hell. I was like, that's perfect. That kind of rhymes right with what I'm thinking with this book, It's just like, we're just going to ride this bomb straight to hell. And that's kind of the mentality I had when I was taking this book from the mid process until the very end, okay? You have to understand, up until this point in time, I had already kind of constructed what it was. It was supposed to be that fun Christmas adventure with nonstop shenanigans, and it's funny, ha ha ha, we're having a good time, we're all doing, whatever, we're just out having a great time at sports bars and stuff. And that's when I turned a little bit more serious, a little bit darker, as I took it down during those COVID years, listening to that song. Whenever I wanted to get into darker sensation, like kind of wanted my mood to kind of not dampen, like I'm like sitting there crying. I'm like, oh my God. Ooh, it's like, it wasn't like that. It was more the mentality. It's kind of like, okay, this is kind of not good, and you don't want to be all happy while you're writing it. I mean, some people probably are. They're like, probably, this is so evil. I'm not that mentality. And so I would listen to some a little bit darker music. Tool would mix it in quite a bit. I think 10,000 Days, that's one of my favorite albums by them. So I've listened to a lot of Tool, and that would kind of be some of the darker elements. Iron Maiden, Hallowed Be Thy Name. That's one song that really rang in my head, especially during one part of the story. I can't tell you what that is, but I listened to that song and then you try to correlate it back with the book and see if you can figure it out. It's not a big section of the book, and it's just kind of a little Easter egg. That song was in the back of my head and in the background playing when I was writing that section. Kind of helped solidify the whole scenario. So that's a little bit about the background music with the book. Some people on their recommended things to do for teachers, or not teachers, writers. Yeah, writers. They recommend that you come up with a playlist of music. I guess I could do that, but I don't. Who's going to listen to it? I guess I could put a playlist link in the description down below. I don't know how you're going to get it. I use Amazon Music, so if you don't use Amazon Music, there you have it. I guess everybody uses Amazon, right? Uses Amazon for something. Whether you like it or not, some sort of Amazon service is being implemented in part of your life to some capacity, whether it's retail type things or backside more industry type services with their web hosting and all that kind of stuff. And I guess they're integrated with the Department of Defense. But anyhow, I gotta get going. I gotta get some alcohol in this wound. I gotta get some coffee and get going. So thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe. Appreciate your time. I hope you're doing good out there. Like I said again, keep working hard, keep trying your best, and don't ever quit. You can do this no matter what. It's not the destination, it's the journey. All right, we'll talk to you later. And hey, the watch.